Okay, so boom, part one of how I escaped out of jail. I'm free. So back in 2007, I was charged with special aggravated robbery, special aggravated kidnapping, first degree premeditated murder, and 3 counts of felony murder. I'm about to tell you how. So I'm at my girl house in Clarkville, Tennessee, in the project. Slab City to be correct. Her name was Taylor. They call her Flower. She was with 5 of them. I'm sitting on the porch. I'm cooling. I'm chilling. I'm minding my own business. All of a sudden, my phone ring. I'm looking at the call ID looking at me. Me and the call ID looking at each other. It's my homeboy. I pick up. He said, man, I need you to come and get me. He sounded like he in a panic. I said, man, what's going on? He said, meet me at Governor Square. I'll tell you everything when I get there. So I get out the phone. My girl look at me. I look at her. We look at each other. She was like, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I jump in the car. I skirt out. Skirt. I drive. I pull up. He get in the car. Boom. He said, man, bro, they were down there. Next thing you know, I say to myself right then and there, oh, he can't stay with me too long.
Welcome back to the Garden File, where we dig into the wild, the weird, and the downright bizarre stories from behind bars. Today, we're diving into a jaw-dropping tale that sounds like it's ripped right from a movie script. You won't believe the lengths people will go to escape the confines of a prison cell, especially when love and a daring escape plan are involved. We're talking about Joe Baker's wild story of sleeping with a correctional officer, making a daring jailbreak, and, wait for it, stealing thousands of dollars. So grab your popcorn and settle in as we unravel this astonishing saga of love, crime, and audacity. Let's set the scene. Joe Baker, a Mac City inmate, finds himself in an unorthodox situation. What could possibly lead a prisoner to form such a close bond with a correctional officer? Is it love, desperation, or a clever plan in the making? Joe paints a picture of his upbringing in Springfield, Tennessee, where, let's face it, trouble seems to be lurking around every corner. Growing up in a small town with little to do and even less guidance, Joe's early life was a recipe for disaster. His family dynamics were complex, with the mother involved with drugs and a father serving multiple life sentences. From a young age, he was entangled in a world of drugs and crime with family ties that would make anyone question their path. It's a familiar story for many, where the environment shapes your choices, and Joe's story is no different. But he didn't just end up in prison. He found himself in the max security wing, a place where the stakes are higher than ever. Here he encounters a cast of characters that will play pivotal roles in his journey, both inside and outside the prison walls. In this grim setting, he finds an unexpected connection with a correctional officer, leading to a relationship that defies love in all the wrong places. Joe's relationship with the officer is a roller coaster ride of emotions. Imagine falling for someone who holds the keys to your freedom while also being the very person tasked with keeping you locked up. It's like a prison version of Romeo and Juliet, but with a lot more at stake. Joe reveals that the officer was not just a part of the prison system, she became his confidant, his ally, and dare we say, his ticket to freedom. But as we know, every love story has its complications. What began as a simple connection grew into something more complex as the two navigated the treacherous waters of prison life. In the harsh realities of the prison system, where trust is hard to come by, Joe and the officer found solace in each other. They shared secrets, dreams, and a longing for freedom that transcended the prison walls. But as their relationship deepened, so did the risks. Joe had to balance his feelings with the constant threat of exposure, reminding us all that love can sometimes lead us down dangerous paths. Joe Baker's life in prison was marked by the harsh realities and grim atmosphere typical of maximum security facilities. However, amidst the chaos and despair, a connection blossomed between Joe and a female correctional officer who were referred to as Officer Smith for the sake of anonymity. Initially, their interactions were strictly professional, but the intensity of prison life often leads to unexpected relationships. Officer Smith, in turn, assured Joe that she would be cautious during her shifts, maintaining her professionalism in front of other officers and inmates. They both understood the unspoken risks, loss of job, potential criminal charges, and the impact on both their lives. The nature of their relationship remained hidden behind closed doors, with only fleeting glances and whispered conversations in the shadows of the prison. This connection was fueled by the stark loneliness that both experienced. Joe, confined to a cell and separated from his family, and Officer Smith, battling her own struggles while working in a high-stress environment. They found solace in each other's company, sharing laughter and personal anecdotes during brief moments of downtime. The encounter took place in a secluded area of the prison known as the Staff Lounge, a small break room equipped with a couch, a vending machine, and a coffee maker. This area was usually off limits to inmates, but Joe had learned through his interactions with Officer Smith that she sometimes took breaks there when her shift allowed. One fateful day, Joe found himself with an opportunity. He had been called to the staff lounge under the pretense of a minor issue that needed addressing, essentially a ruse to get him out of his cell. Officer Smith, perhaps feeling a rush of adrenaline from the secrecy of the moment, invited Joe into the lounge. They exchanged knowing glances and the tension was palpable. As the door clicked shut behind them, the atmosphere shifted. Joe, motivated by a mix of desire and desperation, leaned in and kissed Officer Smith. To his surprise, she reciprocated, and what began as a simple kiss quickly escalated into a passionate encounter. With the door locked and the risk of discovery hanging over them, they both understood the gravity of their actions, but were caught in a whirlwind of emotions, longing, and the thrill of rebellion. Following the encounter, both Joe and Officer Smith were acutely aware of the need for secrecy. They established a set of rules to maintain discretion, knowing that even the slightest hint of their relationship could lead to severe consequences for both of them. Joe was instructed to keep quiet about their rendezvous and to avoid any further public displays of affection. Officer Smith, in turn, assured Joe that she would be cautious during her shifts, maintaining her professionalism in front of other officers and inmates. They both understood the unspoken risks, loss of job, potential criminal charges, and the impact on both their lives. The nature of their relationship remained hidden behind closed doors, with only fleeting glances and whispered conversations in the shadows of the prison. As their relationship deepened, the idea of escape began to materialize. Joe confided in Officer Smith about his desire to break free from the confines of prison life. He revealed his frustrations, dreams, and the longing for freedom. And surprisingly, Officer Smith expressed her willingness to help him escape. The plan they devised was intricate, but required complete trust between them. Joe and Officer Smith agreed on a date and time for the escape, during which she would be on duty. Knowing the prison's routine and the shift changes, they planned for a night when security would be less vigilant. On the chosen night, Officer Smith was scheduled for a late shift. Joe had managed to create a distraction earlier in the day, an altercation between inmates that drew the attention of several guards. This distraction provided Joe with the opportunity to execute the escape plan. At around 2 a.m., when the night was quiet and most of the guards were preoccupied, Officer Smith unlocked the door to the staff lounge, allowing Joe to slip inside. The two shared a brief moment together before she handed him a set of spare keys that she had strategically acquired over time. These keys were crucial for Joe's escape, giving him access to restricted areas of the prison. After ensuring the coast was clear, Joe made his move. He used the keys to unlock a door leading to a maintenance area that led outside the prison. This area was rarely used, making it the perfect route for his escape. Joe felt a rush of adrenaline as he made his way through the dimly lit corridors, the weight of the keys feeling heavy in his pocket, a tangible symbol of his freedom. After successfully escaping, Joe Baker didn't just run for the hills. He had a plan to secure his financial freedom as well. He had learned that a local business often handled large cash transactions, and he decided that this would be his target. Using the information he gathered while in prison, particularly during his conversations with Officer Smith, Joe pinpointed the best time for the heist. Late at night, when the store was less crowded and the cash flow was at its peak. He had also managed to acquire a fake identity, which he used to blend into the local population. On the night of the heist, Joe donned a disguise that included a hoodie and a mask, making it difficult for anyone to identify him. He arrived at the location, which was a small convenience store, just as the last customer was leaving. With a mix of fear and determination, he approached the cashier, brandishing a weapon, a gun he had taken from Officer Smith's evidence locker during their secret meetings. Joe demanded cash, and the terrified cashier complied, filling a bag with thousands of dollars. The adrenaline coursed through his veins as he realized the gravity of what he was doing. He quickly made his way out of the store, but not before pocketing some extra cash from the register, ensuring he had enough to start a new life. The escape was swift, and Joe managed to flee the scene without drawing attention. However, he knew that his freedom was precarious. Law enforcement would eventually catch up with him, and he had to stay one step ahead. Joe's audacious heist quickly made headlines, and the authorities launched a manhunt to find him. With the stolen cash in hand, Joe knew he needed to lay low and come up with a solid plan to secure his future. He moved from place to place, avoiding detection and using the stolen money to survive. Despite the thrill of his newfound freedom and the financial windfall, Joe understood that the consequences of his actions were looming. The police were relentless in their pursuit, and every moment of freedom came with the fear of being caught. He spent his days on the run, constantly looking over his shoulder and planning his next move. Joe, what happens when love collides with the rigid structure of prison? Will it lead to liberation, or will it be the catalyst for ruin? The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of their actions could change everything. Now, let's talk about the escape plan. Because what's a good prison story without a daring getaway? Joe's journey to freedom involved a series of calculated risks and, let's be honest, some questionable decisions. This wasn't just a get up and go situation. Joe had to carefully orchestrate every move, all while maintaining the facade of a compliant inmate. The thrill of planning an escape while surrounded by guards and fellow inmates is a feat few could pull off. Joe reveals the meticulous details of how he communicated with the officer, shared secrets, and devised a plan that would ultimately lead to his escape. Imagine the tension, the excitement, and the sheer audacity of thinking you can pull this off without a hitch. Joe describes the moment he realized the full extent of their plan, the late night conversations, the hushed whispers, and the adrenaline that fueled their every action. The fear of getting caught loomed over them like a dark cloud, yet it only seemed to intensify their bond. As the day of the escape approached, Joe's heart raced with anticipation and dread. Would they make it? Would the officers' trust in him pay off, or would it all come crashing down? The stakes couldn't be higher, and Joe's narrative captures every moment of uncertainty, excitement, and fear as they prepared to take the biggest risk of their lives. Joe didn't just escape, he hit the jackpot, literally. After making his escape, he reportedly stole thousands of dollars. But let's pause here. How does one go from being a max sentence inmate to a successful thief on a run? Through Joe's eyes, we see the thrill of the heist and the adrenaline rush that comes with it. But let's not forget, there's always a catch. The aftermath of such bold moves often leads to high stakes and even higher consequences. As Joe recounts the moments following his daring escape, we sense the thrill of freedom mixed with the uncertainty of what lies ahead. He vividly describes the rush of stealing the money, the fear of getting caught, and the overwhelming sense of elation that comes with defying the odds. But with each passing moment, the reality of his situation sinks in. And it happens when the thrill of freedom meets the reality of being hunted. Joe's story doesn't just end with the escape, it spirals further into chaos and danger. The police are hot on his trail and the clock is ticking. Every decision he makes could lead to his downfall or his ultimate liberation. In this segment, we truly understand the duality of Joe's experience. He's both the hero of his own story and the architect of his own potential doom. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the tension is palpable as we witness the aftermath of his audacious. Now, let's take a step back from the action for a moment. Joe's story is not just about crime. It's about the choices we make and the paths we choose. In the prison environment, relationships can be powerful motivators, but they can also lead to devastating consequences. Joe's relationship with the officer could have been a chance at redemption, but instead it became a catalyst for even more trouble. This story serves as a reminder that while love can be a powerful force, it's crucial to consider the implications of our choices, especially when they involve bending the rules. Joe's journey through love, crime, and ultimately redemption encapsulates the human experience in the most raw and unfiltered way. As we reflect on Joe's experiences, we can't help but ask ourselves, what would we do in his shoes? Would we take the same risks? Would we trust someone with our freedom? These questions linger long after the story ends, urging us to think critically about our own lives and the choices we make. This is not just a story of escape, it's a story of transformation, resilience, and the quest for a better life. It reminds us that even in the darkest of circumstances, there is always a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption, and a possibility for change. So what do you think? Would you dare to risk it all for love? Would you trust someone who holds your freedom in their hands? Joe Baker's story is a cautionary tale that challenges our perceptions of justice, love, and the human spirit's resilience. If you enjoyed this wild ride through Joe's life, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more captivating stories from behind bars. And remember, whether it's love or a life of crime, always think twice before making that leap. Thanks for tuning in to The Guardian File, where we shine a light on the unorthodox and the unbelievable. Until next time, stay curious.